Billionaire finds Maid eating grass. The truth will shock you. A billionaire thought he had built a perfect household, a home of elegance and control, until one afternoon he stepped into the garden and froze. There, on her knees in the dewy grass, was his maid, Layla, tearing at blades of grass with trembling hands and tears streaming down her face. At first, he assumed she had lost her mind, but the truth, when it hit him, was far darker than madness. It was a cruelty he had allowed to thrive under his own roof, a silent suffering that should have never existed. The Marwood estate gleamed like a jewel under the sun. White columns framed arched windows, and the lawn was so precisely manicured it looked unreal. But beauty, as the saying goes, often hides pain. And inside, the pain belonged to those who served silently. Layla adjusted the crisp black and white uniform that hugged her frail frame. Her hands shook not just from fatigue, but from the gnawing emptiness in her stomach. She had not eaten a proper meal in 2 days, and every step toward the kitchen was a battle between her instinct to survive and the terror of Mrs. Marwood's wrath. "Where do you think you're going?" A sharp voice cut through the air. It was Helena Marwood, the billionaire's wife, standing in the kitchen doorway, her silk robe brushing the polished floor. Her lips curled in disdain as she glanced down at Layla. "I was just—" Layla started softly, her voice trembling. "To what?" Helena snapped, stepping closer, the gold rings on her fingers glinting in the sunlight. "Don't tell me you thought you'd help yourself to food again." Layla's hands clutched her apron. "I wasn't." "Don't lie to me," Helena hissed. "I told you the rules when you were hired. Servants do not eat the family's food. Not leftovers. Not crumbs. Is that clear?" "Yes, ma'am," Layla whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of fear. Helena smirked, pouring coffee slowly, letting the rich aroma fill the air like a weapon. "You're paid to work, not to eat. If you're hungry, bring your own bread, or starve. Either way, it's not my problem." Layla bowed her head and turned away, every step toward the hallway twisting her stomach with pain. Hours passed. She scrubbed floors, polished furniture, and ironed Mr. Marwood's suits. Each task felt heavier than the last, each breath a reminder that her body was failing. But the echo of Helena's warning rang in her ears every time she approached the kitchen. By late afternoon, her legs wobbled and her head spun with hunger. She stumbled into the garden, a wave of desperation breaking over her. Kneeling in the soft grass, she clutched her stomach, tears blurring her vision. I can't anymore," she whispered to herself. The ache inside her drove her to do something unthinkable. She pulled a handful of fresh grass on the ground and shoved it into her mouth, chewing in silence as a bitterness filled her tongue. "Why am I like this? God, why?" she cried, tears soaking the soil beneath her. Footsteps sounded on the stone path, and Layla froze. "What on earth is this?" The deep voice carried over the garden like thunder. She looked up and saw Marcus Marwood, the billionaire himself, standing a few feet away. His tailored navy suit and polished shoes radiated authority, but his face was twisted in disbelief. "Layla," he said slowly, voice trembling, "what are you doing?" She stumbled to her knees, spitting out the grass, her hands shaking. "Sir, I... Words failed her. "Are you insane? Eating grass like some animal?" His anger was sharp, but beneath it, confusion lingered. I... She tried to speak, but fear silenced her. She remembered Helena's threats. If she ever complained, she would lose her job, and without her wages, her sick mother and little brother back home would go hungry. Marcus stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "You can't what? Speak? You will tell me, Layla. Now, because what I just saw..." His voice cracked with the weight of disbelief. "I want the truth." Layla bowed her head lower, trembling. She couldn't betray the threat hanging over her, couldn't risk losing the only thing keeping her family alive. So she remained silent, Marcus's jaw clenched, fists tightening. He leaned closer. "Don't make me repeat myself. I don't want excuses. I want answers." Her chest rose and fell with panicked breaths. Tears ran down her face, but she shook her head. "If I speak, she will..." Marcus's tone sharpened. The The sliding glass door creaked. Helena's cold voice rang out from the patio. What is going on here? Layla stiffened like prey sensing a predator. Marcus turned. Helena, barefoot and flawless in her silk robe, approached with a disapproving look. I found her on the ground eating grass. Explain. His voice trembled, fury barely restrained. Helena's lips curled. What do you mean, eating grass? I told her from day one. Our staff are not allowed to touch our food. They are here to serve, not to feed themselves like parasites. Marcus's face paled. You mean you've been forbidding them to eat in my house? Helena rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. They have wages. If they're too stupid to bring their own bread, that's their problem. I won't have servants rummaging through my refrigerator. This house has standards. Marcus stared at her, disbelief etched in every line of his face. Standards? He repeated, voice shaking. This is cruelty. She was starving to the point of chewing grass. And you watched it happen? Helena's expression hardened. Don't raise your voice at me. You're never here. I maintain order. If she's hungry, she figures it out. Not my concern. Something inside Marcus broke. His fists unclenched, hands trembling, his chest heaving. He knelt in the grass beside Layla, awkward and ashamed. Forgive me, he whispered. Forgive me for not seeing, for not knowing, for letting this happen under my roof. Layla sobbed harder, her body shaking, but she did not pull away. Marcus's empire, his wealth, his power, it all meant nothing in that moment. What shattered him was not the fear of scandal or business loss. It was the sight of a loyal, silent woman forced to chew grass, while his wife sipped coffee in comfort. I swear to you, he said, voice trembling but steady, this ends today. You will never go hungry again, not while I have breath in my body. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the garden. In that quiet, the mighty Marcus Marwood broke. Not from stock crashes, not from rivals, but from the unbearable truth of cruelty within his own home. For the first time, he truly saw her, not just a maid, but a mother, a sister, a human being forced into survival at the cost of dignity. And for the first time, he vowed that under his roof, no one would endure that suffering again.